Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you, as always, by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We're today on the Mike Francesa channel on the Bet Rivers Network on YouTube, as we will be prominently this fall once we get into our regular football schedule and into our regular fall schedule. First, there'll be some vacation coming. We'll keep you abreast of that, but first, we have a game to worry about this evening, the last of the Subway Series games for this year, and a big game in the Bronx because, let's be honest, as the Yankees continue to add a page to their slide into mediocrity, I don't want to say oblivion because it's not oblivion yet, but it's mediocrity. And it's something they have really put forth quite a resume on in the last 40 games or so. But they cannot have the Mets walk out of Yankee Stadium tonight, turn off the lights, and have swept them the entire Subway Series. That is something which would be very hard for the Yankees to digest, something that would be very hard for Yankee fans to digest, and would just be quite telling about where they are right now. Now, the Yankees, while the Mets were up all night, and I'm sure you heard that because their announcers made sure to give you the Met plight. While the Yankees were tucked in their beds after their afternoon game against Tampa, the Mets couldn't get out of Miami. They were on the tarmac. They got home in the morning. They had no sleep. How could they possibly play this game? And blah, 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 blah. Well, the bottom line is the Mets did very, very well. They got a well-pitched game. They were able to overcome the fact they didn't have Diaz. And the Yankees' ineptitude played strongly into the Mets' strategy last night. Severino got some buzz because he talked about how the Yankees have two hitters. Well, everyone knows they have two hitters. The Yankees make it very clear they have two hitters. And everyone in the world knows that there are two superstars sitting in the 2 and 3 slots and nothing else in the lineup. But the Yankees accentuated that last night by putting a lineup on the field against the lefties, which made absolutely no sense. Why was Jones at the DH spot and batting leadoff? Why was Davis, who has been inept, in the 4 spot or in the lineup? And why was Wells out of the lineup? To get righty bats in? Yeah, if they're righty bats. But if they can't hit, why do you want them in the lineup? It's bad enough you can't protect 2 and 3. You got to accentuate it by putting guys in the lineup who can't play. I mean, nobody liked that lineup when they saw it. You didn't have to be a genius to go, what is going on? Everyone who saw the lineup last night said, what is going on? So whether if it was coming out of the room, if you know what the room is, or it was coming out of the head of the manager, that lineup last night was just plain stupid. We know that going in. Now, once in a while, you can throw something out there, it hits the wall and it takes off. Well, it didn't happen. They accentuated it by having nobody do anything who they put in the lineup. Now, the Yankees have to insert some lefties against left-handed pitching. Like tonight, I'm sure they'll put Rice back at first base, and they should. They don't have to bat him clean up, but put him back in the lineup. Put Wells back in the lineup. Wells should have been in the lineup last night. He hit .250 against lefties this year, and he's been swinging a hot bat. Why are you putting a kid in the lineup who's overmatched? So he'll be back in the lineup tonight. And I guarantee you Jones will not be at the DH spot tonight. I would be stunned if he is. It makes no sense. And he should not be in the leadoff spot. Yes, the Yankees are begging, crying. We have talked about this ad infinitum since last winter, that the Yankees were desperate for a leadoff hitter. I've talked about it. I've screamed about it. I've talked about it until I'm tired of talking about it. They need a leadoff hitter. They need to trade for somebody who can play a corner position and can lead off. There's a guy in Colorado there who can do that, in McMahon. Now, they're going to trade for Ryan McNeil? I don't know. Bats lefty, has a .357 on-base percentage. He's got 14 homers, 45 RBIs. They can get him. He's got a little meat on the bone on his contract. But if you slide him in the top of the lineup and he has a 360 or 357 on base percentage, that is another world for the Yankees. The Yankees can't put anybody on the field except Soto and Judge, who has over a 3. Now, tonight, and I'm telling you this because this is just by process of elimination, I would, against Manaea tonight, I would put Volpe in the 1. It's not a great answer. I don't want him there on a daily basis, but I would put him there tonight. I would not put a left-hander in the top spot. And if Grisham's in the lineup, which I don't think he will be, but if whoever's in the lineup tonight, I'm not putting any of them in the top spot. I would put Volpe in the top spot. So who are you going to put in the 4th spot if you put Wells and Rice back in the lineup? By process of elimination, not having Stanton tonight, I would probably, on this game, put Torres in the 4th spot. Nothing's a good answer in the 4th spot right now. We know that. They're going to walk Judge, but at least put someone behind there who's a threat. Now, the Mets walked Judge all night last night. The game came down to a couple of pitches, including one that McNeil hit out of the ballpark. Now, you know when McNeil had fallen into incredible disfavor and was sitting on the bench while Iglesias was hitting up a storm and was very unhappy, because you hear about the happy McNeil all the time versus the unhappy McNeil. I was saying, hey, I know the Yankees and Mets don't make trades, but if the Yankees could pry McNeil away, it'd be perfect. Perfect for Yankee Stadium. A little adjustment, he could hit home runs like they were going out of style. Well, he had started to hit home runs like they're going out of style, and he didn't even hear. But he saved one for Yankee Stadium last night. They went 390 feet in right center field, and he won the game with it. His 4th home run in a couple of games. He had 5 home runs for the first 3 months of the season, and he's had 4 home runs this week. And he has gotten big hit after big hit. And now he's happy, McNeil. And so are the Mets. And the Mets last night do it with magic because they didn't have Diaz, and their bullpen is shaky to begin with. And they obviously pitched around Judge all night until the 9th inning. There were 2 pitches in that game. Now, I'm going to hope you notice which ones they were. There were 2 pitches in that game. There's a third one that bothered me, but I'm going to let it go. And that was the fact that the inning before, LeMahieu swung at a 3-1 pitch that was out of the strike zone and grounded out. If he could have gotten on there, it would have ensured some things and changed the 9th inning a little bit. But he didn't. That's not the ones I'm talking about, though. There were 2 pitches. The first was the 2-1 pitch to Grisham, which was the most important at bat of that game last night, because it would set up the entire inning if Grisham got on. He took a 2-1 pitch that was way low, and they called it a strike. Grisham gave you his grimace. You saw Boone yelling at the umpire. It was a bad call. It was a critical call because it made Grisham, who knows how to work a count and understands that he needs to walk there in front of Soto and Judge, it made him have to swing the bat. He almost hit a home run. He hit the ball to the track in center field. He used the deeper part of the ballpark. He didn't get the job done. Now, here comes Soto. He gets his walk. They had gotten him out all night. He got his walk. Now, here comes Judge. Hasn't had a chance to swing the bat all night. Walked every time up. They haven't thrown a pitch near him. Are they going to put the winning run on base with 1 out? Well, we're going to find out on the first pitch. First pitch, fastball for a strike. That's the second biggest pitch in the game. He got strike 1 past Judge. And now we're in play. So what was happening there was, we're not going to pass you now. We are going to go after you now. And they wound up going after him with a inside corner fastball that backed him off the plate a little bit and was called strike 3. All right, Judge is human. He can make an out there. He did make an out there, and the Yankees went down in defeat. It was a masterful game plan by a limited Met bullpen, and their manager, he was like a bright penny last night. He shined and shined and shined. His moves worked. His strategy worked. He played into the weakness of the Yankee lineup, and it worked. And they go on to a victory. The Yankees had so many opportunities. The Mets walked them ad infinitum. The Yankees had so many chances. But again, that has been the story of the Yankees now for a long time. They are dying in front of Soto and Judge. They are dying behind Soto and Judge. The rest of the lineup is hit or miss. You have got to have a thread that goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Cashman must figure out and put a body in front of Soto that works. He has to trade for someone who not only can come in and be versatile, but can come in and lead off. There's nobody there that can do that. It's critical. I don't care if you spend a little for it. It's critical. You're going to get Stanton back. We know Stanton's feast or famine. Okay, we know he gets red hot. We know he goes ice cold. Still, he's a bona fide bat that can protect Judge. Otherwise, Judge is going to see 3 walks every night. Because once they get Soto out on the times they do, and remember, when you hit 300, they still get you out 7 out of 10 times. This is baseball. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities to pitch around Judge. You got to make them pay sooner or later. There's been a couple of examples where Rice has made them pay. He has cooled off dramatically. He had a good at-bat last night. They put him in the game. He just took the ball to the deepest part of the ballpark, and it got caught on the track. It happens. He had a good at-bat. He had a quality at-bat. He's had some very good clutch at-bats, although he has really, since the 3-homer game, he has found it tough going. I think he's 3 for his last 30 or something like that. But he did have a good at-bat last night. But the Yankees, again, can't get out of their own way. They do just enough to lose the game. And the Mets missed opportunity after opportunity to break that game open last night. They didn't score after LeMahieu's Olay. They didn't score when they had the bases loaded and 1 out. I was shocked he did not put Alvarez up. Stunned that he didn't put Alvarez up. I know he's fallen in love with the backup catcher, but you know what? I'm sorry. You can't leave that kind of bat on the bench that could have broken that game open, especially when you don't have your closer. He dodged a big bullet there and dodged a big mistake there by not putting Alvarez up. I could not believe he didn't do that. I mean, that kid's too good a hitter to leave on the bench in that spot. Not when you need a 2-run single or a double up the gap that can break the game wide open when you don't have Diaz in the 9th inning. And you're going to wind up facing the big guys in the 9th inning. But they got around it, and they got a huge break, because if that pitch to Grissom is 3-1 and he walks there, it's a completely different inning. Completely different inning. It's a completely different at-bat by Soto. It's a completely different at-bat all the way around, and it's a different game. That was a huge pitch that broke for the Mets. But, hey, sometimes when you're going good, sometimes when things are working, things break your way. Now, the Yankees face a big game tonight for a lot of reasons, for bragging rights, for everything else. But the biggest reason is sooner or later they have to break out of this malaise. It still continues. It lingers. They won 2 games in Baltimore, and then they gave away the 3rd game with an awful defeat, which dragged them back in. They had a couple of wins over Tampa. Yeah, they did. Had a couple of laughers, but they also lost 2 of the 4 games. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. 1 step forward, 1 step back. Can't get out of it, can't get a positive streak going. And now the Mets come in, who have beaten them 3 times, who embarrassed them, put 21 runs up against them in 2 games in Citi Field, come in here and beat them a tight game last night. And it was a heck of a ball game with a lot of drama, a lot of decisions, a lot of strategy. It was a really good ball game. If you don't like the Subway Series, you don't like that, you know what? Find something else to do. That works, and it worked again last night. And it will work again tonight because there is a lot of pressure on the Yankees to get something going tonight, to get 6 or 7 dominant innings out of Cole. And he needs to deliver that for this team tonight. That's what he's there for, to deliver this tonight and make it a no-brainer where, guys, they're not going to score for 7 innings now. Show me what you're going to do. Put up a 5 or 6 spot. Let's make this easy. I'll give you 7 innings. I'll tip my cap, and then you can turn it over to the bullpen. That's what the design should be for tonight. All right? Cole does his job, and somewhere along the line, the offense breaks out. The Mets already got their season series. They've won 3 of the 4 games. They've beaten the Yankees this year. If they get this one tonight, hey, when the lights go out tonight at Yankee Stadium, there'd be a lot of unhappy people. This is one the Yankees need to get in the worst way. The Yankee schedule has got a couple of tough spots in it in the next couple of weeks. You know, they got to play the Phillies. All right, they're going to Boston this weekend. Won't be easy. And they're very lucky that the Red Sox haven't been good lately, and the Orioles have been awful almost for a couple of weeks now. So the Yankees are still right where they need to be. A couple of games in front of the Red Sox, a couple of games behind the O's. Lucky to be right where they are. But down the road, there's a lot of winnable games coming for the Yankees. But they need to get their act together. They need to get Stanton back. They need to get a guy to bat leadoff. There's 2 or 3 guys out there that can do it. I like McMahon if they can get him because he can play third base and he can bat him leadoff. If you put a guy up there with a 357 on base percentage, the Yankees are going to score runs. And a guy who can knock the ball out of the ballpark. That's a big positive. If they can get it. And they go get themselves another relief pitcher. Somebody who's got swing and miss stuff that gives them another power arm at the back of the bullpen. Because they're going to need that. You can get by with these starters. Yes, Stroman needs to be better at Yankee Stadium. Cortez needs to be better on the road. Rodon needs to be better in the first inning. We know all that. Hill did a good job last night. Durability is his problem now. Durability is his problem in these games. Durability is his problem the rest of the season because you don't know how many innings he can pitch. He's going into uncharted territory. He's still got good stuff. I mean, he had good stuff last night. How about the pitch he made to Nimmo? He had the bases loaded. Nimmo up with 1 out. First of all, he struck out Lindor. He had, first and second, struck out Lindor. Nimmo up. And Nimmo's been a wrecker lately, although the last couple of days he hasn't been great. He threw the ball right past Nimmo. Nimmo didn't even get the bat around on a 99-mile-an-hour fastball that was on the outside corner. He just blew him away. That was a major pitch. So you saw some good things from Hill. Durability is an issue. Going down the rest of the season, for games and overall for innings that he can give you. I don't think they need to add a starting pitcher. I think they need to add a relief pitcher, and they desperately need to add a guy who can play the corner, preferably third, and lead off. The leadoff part of it is critical. They need to be able to bracket these 2 guys with productive players. They don't have a leadoff hitter on the roster. They have got to get someone who can do that. It will change everything. It will get them scores in the first inning. It will mean a lot to this team. And this is a big game for them in a lot of ways. Because this will just really cement, if they lose it, what's going on here. For the Mets, big win. And There are people out there that still think the Mets are going to be sellers. Now, the Mets could be thinking about the playoffs and still decide to move Alonso. That could happen. There is a scenario for that. But the idea of wholesale changes, listen, I thought a while ago McNeil was gone because he'd fallen into so much disfavor. Why have him here if he wasn't going to play? Now he's become a big cog in their wheel again. I doubt they will move him. Martinez has not been good lately, but he'll bounce back. He's a pro. He's just in a slump. It happens. The Yankees, on the other hand, are carrying dead wood, and they've got to look in the mirror and realize where the dead wood is. And they have to get Stanton back. One thing about this, Stanton's worth has been accentuated by what's going on here. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, a couple of things. Number one, let me tell you about this. We always have a promotion for you. Have a new one for you today, the Francesa Baseball Boost. You ready? Head over to the Bet Rivers app. Take advantage of the Wednesday Francesa Baseball Boost. Today's boost is on the Yankees to beat the Mets and Judge did a home run. Now, that's assuming the Mets let Judge play tonight. Last night, they only let him play once. They only let him see about 2 pitches and 5 at-bats. We'll see how it is this evening. The original odds were 285, but they're boosting it to 320 just out of the generosity of their heart. So only on the Bet Rivers app. So check it out and get the boost. It would be 285. They're boosting it to 320 just as a little present for you. Check it out tonight for a Yankee win and a Judge home run. Now, training camps are upon us. Football is in the air, which means the Aaron Rodgers revival is back in town. Now, we know what went on. He let everyone know that, hey, that wasn't minicamp. That was just OTAs. Although everyone else found it mandatory minicamp. He wanted you to know it was only OTAs, which brings you back to something that all Jet players, all Jet personnel, all Jet executives, and all Jet fans have to realize. Jet rule number 1, the golden rule that runs the Jets. Rodgers makes the rules. Rule number 2, refer to rule number 1. Just realize that. It's what Rodgers says it is. Everybody gets in line, the front office, the head coach, the coaching staff, the offensive coordinator, the other players. Everybody gets in line behind the mystic one, okay? I know it was very important that he get to Egypt during the offseason. I don't know if his preparation for this season could have been complete if he didn't get to Egypt in the offseason. So, fortunately, he got to Egypt and came back with an interesting shirt of a cat, which I'm sure you'll see again. And I'm sure some new views on some very, very controversial subjects that he has pondered. Because he usually has a very odd view on what the conventional wisdom of the day is. So, as we know, there's more coming. But understand this. As training camp opens and the Jets begin their season with great hope and great anticipation that there is only one rule. You want to call it the golden rule? Go right ahead. There's only one rule in Jet Camp, and that is Rodgers makes the rules. Case closed. That's it. It is what he says it is. Doesn't matter whether it makes sense. Doesn't matter whether it usurps anybody else's authority, including the head coach. He makes the rules. Once you get that down and realize while he's here, you're going to live under that form of government when it comes to the Jets, then everything's all right. And reality is what he says it is. That's it. Nothing else matters. And sometimes his reality gets a little bizarre, but hey, comes with the territory. You know, there's no extra charge for his off-the-field wisdom and his off-the-field antics. Now, the one thing, though, that brings us all back is he can still spin the football. That's the important thing. They got to keep him upright. We know he's not going to take a whole bunch of hits. He could take a few, but not many. But if you can keep him upright, and they have the personnel now to do that, this team could be really good. Now, I've seen some places where people have said, this is a mediocre team. People are overrating the team. Nonsense. The Jets have a really good team as long as he's the quarterback. They have now a real offensive line. They have now a supplemented receiver to go with what is already, without question, one of the game-breaking receivers in the league, who has just so far showed you the tip of the iceberg. They have, at running back, quite possibly the most explosive player in the league. Nobody has an ability to take the ball and go the distance from the running back position more than he does. He is a threat to go the distance every time he touches the football. And that is a rare, rare quality. That guy is scary. They are really good on defense. Are they great? No. But they're really good. And they could be better. And if they are supplemented by a more efficient offense that does not pin them in the wrong part of the field and allows them to play the game from a much more advantageous position. See, when a defense gets to play with the field tilted their way versus the field tilted against them, it gets even better. The Jets have been very good on defense, and the field has been tilted against them almost all the time. That's the subtlety of the sport that a lot of people don't grasp. The field tilts one way or the other. When you can have the other unit provide you with field position, it changes things markedly. And this Jet defense could be far more dangerous that way, and should be. This could be a very good season, a really, really good season. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I do think we go through this on a daily basis. In the back of all our minds is the thought that he is brittle and could go in a minute. You know, you lived with that with Namath. It was always, as you watched them, and I always felt that I always was afraid that the next hit could be the one that's just the one you cringe on. Same thing with him. You know, he's 41 years old. You go in with the back of your mind every game with that little bit of fear that, you know, can he get out of this game alive? If he does, they're going to be good. And they could be better than good. So it's going to be fun to watch. And his other stuff, his antics, like I said, just refer to rule number 1. As long as you go on that premise, everything's okay. Aaron makes the rules. That's it. Now, emails. Here we go. Mike Francesa podcast at gmail.com. We started off with Bobby. Do you think the Mets should trade McNeil before deadline? Hey, I thought McNeil was a goner. He was sitting on the bench. Iglesias was tearing it up. He wasn't playing. Everyone told you how unhappy he was. Anyone you talked to anywhere told you how unhappy he was. I really thought they were getting ready to push him out, and now Happy Jeff has arrived, so I don't think he's going anywhere right now. Seth, what are your thoughts on Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race? I thought they'd have to rip it away from him. I think they virtually had to. I think that's true of anybody in human nature. I mean, the power, the magnetic power of the presidency is so strong that anybody who's in that Oval Office, and remember, he's not running for president, he is the president. It is really hard to give that up. To be the most important person in the world, which is what you are in that job. You're running the most powerful country in the world. You are the most important person in the world. You are treated like the most important person in the world 24 hours a day. Everything is at your beck and call every second of the day. Anything. Anything you want, anywhere you want to go, anything. That's hard to give up. But, he knows how much old age is taken from him more than we do. I thought every time you saw him going up the stairs on Air Force One, not saying a word, and we know what the debate did to him, but I thought every time you saw him going up the stairs on Air Force One, he was losing votes by the thousands with each stair because he looked like he was 120. He didn't look 80, he looked 120. He had to go. He was non-competitive. The rigors of a presidential campaign are taxing on any human. You're flying thousands and thousands of miles a day. You're shaking hands and giving speeches. You have a sore throat. You have a sore hand. You eat terribly. You never sleep. And you're running a country on top of it. Hey, anybody would be exhausted with that schedule. At his age and with what's going on in his life, he can't handle it. The one thing they have now, wherever you fall in this, whether you're the biggest Trumpster in the world or you love what's going on now with the Democrats, and you can't wait for the, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, concert for her, or George Clooney to introduce her, or whatever it is, because she's going to be wrapped in stars. You know that. So wherever you fall along the spectrum, know this. That is now a vibrant, together, energetic person in the job, and they haven't had that. So it's going to be a big change. It's going to be a big change. Trump was basically running against a mannequin the last couple of months. He couldn't move. Now, and this is the positive for him, because now he'll go out a hero in his party, and all right, the Republicans say he should have got out. He was never getting out. And the worst thing that could have happened, if you were rooting for the Republicans or you're backing Trump, worst thing you could have wanted was for her to take over now, because if she takes over now and does something good, like get the hostages out, hey, she pick up 10 points in the polls. You don't want that. You don't want her to be able to jump into the job and do something special in the job in 4 months. You don't want her in the job. I mean, if you have to be a fool to want her in the job. So let Joe finish his term. I didn't think there was any recourse. I just think he had to come around to it, and it took him a while to come around to it. Because, hey, I remember reading how hard it was for Nixon When Nixon was done, when they basically told him it's over, Kissinger's in there telling him it's over, Goldwater's in there telling him it's over, he still was clinging to the desk, trying to figure out a way to keep the presidency. It's human nature. Mike, this is Mike now. Hearing you talking about Soto's great at-bats had me thinking about Tony Gwynn. Would he have been a bigger star had he played in a bigger market? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He was hidden. There's no question. Some guys play in obscurity. He played in obscurity a lot of his career. He was a great player. Rob, is starting pitching being slowly phased out of baseball? What was your first clue? No matter who you are, they don't want you to pitch 3 times to the lineup now. When a lineup comes up the third time, unless you are overpowering and your name is Cole or someone on that level, they don't want you out there. They want you to pitch to the lineup twice. They want you to go 5 innings, even 4 1/3 or 4. How many times now do you see pitchers coming out of the game with 4 1/3 innings, 4 2/3 innings? In the old days, they never took a pitcher out there, and he's 1 out from a win, but wins don't matter anymore. They're not even evaluating pitchers by wins anymore, which is absurd, but it's the way they do it now. Yes, they have completely devalued the starting pitcher. Not that the starting pitcher isn't important, but only the dominant starting pitcher is important now. The battler, the guy who has guile, the guy who could give you a good start and keep his team in the game, that guy now pitches 4 2/3. Daniel, would you still be a buyer of Apple and NVIDIA given their valuations? Long term, absolutely on both. Absolutely. Apple will be an incredible player with AI, and NVIDIA runs AI until further notice. So the answer is yes. I have both. I have more actually NVIDIA in the last 3 or 4 years than I do Apple. I've always had Apple. I've never not had Apple. But I have been a big NVIDIA guy for years and years, and I've still, even now, believe there's more to come. And it's been an incredible run, but I don't think the run's over. And I think that's the question. The run's never over for Apple. Hey, Warren Buffett's the greatest investor in the history of the world. Check out how much Apple he has. Case closed. You don't even need anything else from anyone else when you see that. Number 2, when Warren Buffett sells Apple, I'll sell Apple. Number 2, NVIDIA is still, they have yet to have an earnings report that even was not, to the moon. Until they have one. If they have one, the stock's going to go down. But they haven't had one. Until they have one, just keep rolling the dice. If you have been with them for a while, you've made a lot of money. Now, Doug, are you still bullish on Trevor Lawrence? Absolutely. I can't believe how many people have gotten off the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon. Here's Trevor Lawrence's problem, and it's only one problem. He does not know when to sit down. It's an admirable quality, but it hurts your performance. He will play with any injury. Another guy would be out for a month. He'll sit out for basically 1 day of practice. The guy wants to always play. Doesn't matter how banged up he is. Doesn't matter how much he's hurting. He played hurting last year, and it really hurt his performance. There comes a time when you are hurting to the point where you're affecting your performance where you shouldn't be out there. He has already gone through that at times, but I still think that there are many special days ahead for Trevor Lawrence. John, can you see the Yankees not going the extra mile to sign Soto because they have Jones and Dominguez? Absolutely. I think the Yankees will not go the extra mile for Soto. I would be stunned if they do. Plus, I think a big factor, and I think it's a big factor, they cannot pay him an overwhelmingly more amount of money than Judge. It will just not wash. He can't get a contract that's $200 million more than Judge. That's not going to sit well with Judge. I'm sorry. It's just human nature. It's not going to sit well with him. He might not say anything immediately, but it's not going to sit well. Gary, is it worth comparing the careers of two great pitchers, Sandy Koufax and deGrom? No. deGrom had some wonderful days. Wonderful days. He was never, ever, ever near Sandy Koufax. But you know what? From 1962 to 1966, either was anybody else. To this day, Sandy Koufax is, by a wide margin, the best pitcher I've ever seen. And remember, this is a guy who pitched shutouts in the World Series on 2 days rest. This was a guy who threw incredible amounts of innings. Yes, he injured himself and left baseball at a young age. He did. But from 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, he was just better. And the best way I can put it is, if you were at a game and the scoreboard, would be out there and you'd see his number was up and you're watching the scoreboard, as everyone does when they're at games, and somebody put up a 2 on Sandy, there would be a roar in the building because they scored on him. That's how good he was. Nobody in my mind has approached what Sandy brought to the sport in those years. He was that spectacular. We'll see you later.